boys and girls, this is the video for Wednesday, March 25th, 2020. So we'll start with our morning message and read aloud. Here we are for morning message and read aloud. Okay, so morning message. I just want everybody to remember to be safe, to be careful, to wash your hands, and if you go outside and play, go outside and play if it's okay with your parents. Just remember to be safe. So that is my morning message for today, and we are going to read A Bad Case of Stripes by David Shannon. You know, David Shannon is the same author who wrote the David books, like Bad David and David Goes to School. He also wrote A Bad Case of Stripes. Camilla Cream loved lima beans, but she never ate them. All of her friends hated lima beans, and she wanted to fit in. Camilla was always worried about what other people thought of her. Today she was fretting even more than usual. It was the first day of school, and she couldn't decide what to wear. There were so many people to impress. She tried on 42 outfits, but none of them seemed quite right. She put on a pretty red dress and looked in the mirror. Then she screamed. I wonder why she screamed. Her mother ran into the room and she screamed too. "Oh my heavens," she cried. "You're completely covered with stripes." This was certainly true. Camilla was striped from head to toe. She looked like a rainbow. Mrs. Cream felt Camilla's forehead. "Do you feel all right?" she asked. "I feel fine," Camilla answered, "but just look at me." "You get back in bed this instant," her mother ordered. "You're not going to school today." Camilla was relieved. She didn't want to miss the first day of school, but she was afraid of what the other kids would say, and she had no idea what to wear with those crazy stripes. That afternoon, Dr. Bumble came to examine Camilla. "Most extraordinary," he exclaimed. "I've never seen anything like it. Are you having any coughing, sneezing, runny nose, aches, pains, chills, hot flashes, dizziness, drowsiness, shortness of breath, or uncontrollable twitching?" "No," Camilla told him. "I feel fine." "Well then," Dr. Bumble said, turning to Mrs. Cream, "I don't see any reason why she shouldn't go to school tomorrow. Here's some ointment that should help clear up those stripes in a few days. If it doesn't, you know where to reach me." And off he went. The next day was a disaster. Everyone at school laughed at Camilla. They called her Camilla Crayon and Night of the Living Lollipop. She tried her best to act as if everything were normal, but when the class said the Pledge of Allegiance, her stripes turned red, white, and blue, and she broke out in stars. It's like the flag there. The other kids thought this was great. One yelled out, "Let's see some purple polka dots." Sure enough, Camilla turned all purple polka dotty. Someone else shouted, "Checkerboard," and a pattern of squares covered her skin. Soon everyone was calling out different shapes and colors, and poor Camilla was changing faster than you can change channels on a TV. That night, Mr. Harms, the school principal, called. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Cream," he said. "I'm going to have to ask you to keep Camilla home from school. She's just too much of a distraction, and I've been getting calls from the other parents. They're afraid those stripes might be contagious." Camilla was so embarrassed. She couldn't believe that 2 days ago everyone really liked her. Now, nobody wanted to be in the same room with her. Her father tried to make her feel better. "Is there anything I can get you, sweetheart?" he asked. "No, thank you," sighed Camilla. What she really wanted was a nice plate of lima beans, but she had been laughed at enough for one day. Well, yes, I see," Dr. Bumble mumbled when Mr. Cream phoned the next day. "I think I'd better bring in the specialist. We'll be right over." About an hour later, Dr. Bumble arrived with 4 people in long white coats. He introduced them to the Creams. "This is Dr. Dr. Sponge, Dr. Cricket, and Dr. Young. Then the specialists went to work on Camilla. They squeezed and jabbed, tapped and tested. It was very uncomfortable. Well, it's not the mumps, concluded Dr. Grop, or the measles, said Dr. Sponge. Definitely not chicken pox, put in Dr. Cricket. Or sunburn, said Dr. Young. Try these, said the specialist. They each handed her a bottle filled with different colored pills. Take one of each before bed, said Dr. Grop. Then they filed out the front door, followed by Dr. Bumble. That night, Camilla took her medicine. It was awful. When she woke up the next morning, she did feel different. But when she got dressed, her clothes didn't fit right. She looked in the mirror, and there, staring back at her, was a giant multicolored pill with her face on it. Let's see. Dr. Bumble rushed over as soon as Mrs. Cream called, but this time, instead of the specialists, he brought the experts. Dr. Gourd and Mr. Mellon were the finest scientific minds in the land. Once again, Camilla was poked and prodded, looked at and listened to. The experts wrote down lots of numbers. Then they huddled together and whispered. Dr. Gourd finally spoke. It might be a virus, he announced with authority. Suddenly, fuzzy little virus balls appeared all over Camilla. Or possibly some form of bacteria, said Mr. Mellon. Out popped squiggly little bacteria tails. Or it could be a fungus, added Dr. Gourd. Instantly, Camilla was covered with different colored fungus blotches. The experts looked at Camilla, then at each other. We need to go over these numbers again back at the lab, Dr. Gourd explained. We'll call you when we know something. But the experts didn't have a clue, much less a cure. By now, the TV news had found out about Camilla. Reporters from every channel were outside her house telling the story of the bizarre case of the incredible changing kid. Soon, a huge crowd was camped out in the front lawn. The Creams were swamped with all kinds of remedies from psychologists, allergists, herbalists, nutritionists, psychics, an old medicine man, a guru, and even a veterinarian. Each so-called cure only added to poor Camilla's strange appearance until it was hard to even recognize her. She sprouted roots and berries and crystals and feathers and a long furry tail, but nothing worked. One day, a woman who called herself an environmental therapist claimed she could cure Camilla. Close your eyes, she said, breathe deeply, and become one with your room. I wish you hadn't said that, Camilla groaned. Slowly, she started to melt into the walls of her room. Her bed became her mouth, her nose was a dresser, and 2 paintings were her eyes. The therapist screamed and ran from the house. What are we going to do? Cried Mrs. Cream. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. She began to sob. At that moment, Mr. Cream heard a quiet little knock at the front door. He opened it, and there stood an old woman who was just as plump and sweet as a strawberry. Excuse me, she said brightly, but I think I can help. She went into Camilla's room and looked around. My goodness, she said with a shake of her head, what we have here is a bad case of stripes. One of the worst I've ever seen. She pulled a container of small green beans from her bag. Here, she said. These might do the trick. Are those magic beans? Asked Mrs. Cream. Oh my, no, replied the kind old woman. There's no such thing. These are just plain old lima beans. I'll bet you'd like some, wouldn't you? She asked Camilla. Camilla wanted a big heaping plate full of lima beans more than just about anything, but she was still afraid to admit it. Yuck, she said. No one likes lima beans, especially me. Oh dear, the old woman said sadly. I guess I was wrong about you. She put the beans back in her bag and started toward the door. Camilla watched the old woman walk away. Those beans would taste so good, and being laughed at for eating them was nothing compared to what she'd been going through. She finally couldn't stand it. Wait, she cried. The truth is, I really love lima beans. I thought so, the old woman said with a smile. She took a handful of beans and popped them into Camilla's mouth. Said Camilla. Suddenly, the branches, feathers, and squiggly tails began to disappear. Then the whole room swirled around. When it stopped, there stood Camilla, and everything was back to normal. I'm cured, she shouted. Yes, said the old woman. I knew the real you was in there somewhere. She patted Camilla on the hand. Then she went outside and vanished into the crowd. Afterward, Camilla wasn't quite the same. Some of the kids at school said she was weird, but she didn't care a bit. She ate all the lima beans she wanted, and she never had even a touch of the stripes again. Okay, so I want you to take a minute, pause the video, and tell somebody what you liked or did not like about that book. And we are going to go on to writing. Right. Writing today looks like this, just like the past 2 days. And today you are going to write about, you're going to tell me if you had a secret superhero name, what would it be? So maybe you should think about first what kind of superhero you would want to be, and that might help you decide what the name should be. Use your imagination. And remember, you don't have to do writing first. If you want to do some other things while you're letting your imagination think about it and work, you can do some other subjects first and come back to writing when you thought of the perfect superhero name. And I just wanted you to tell me why you would want that to be your superhero name. Okay, so that is writing. So now for reading, here's reading. Okay, so for reading, you're going to read Fruit from My Garden. Looks like this, the level G. And then you're going to answer the questions on the back. Look at my other video to help you read the story and the questions, okay? I have another video that has this week's reading, so you'll just go until you find, you'll fast forward until you see the sign that says Fruit from My Garden, stop there, and then you'll see me reading when I'm pointing to every word, and you read along with me, okay? So that's what you'll do right there. Okay, so now we're going to go on to phonics. Okay, phonics. So here what you're going to do is I'm sorry, boys and girls, you can't cut these out and paste them because there's something probably on the back of this page in your packet. They printed them so that they were front and back. So if you cut it out, then you'll be cutting out part of what on the other page is, okay? So what you're going to do is you'll just pick a word. You'll just pick a word and you're going to put it in which R controlled vowel section it goes. Does it have the AR in it for R, the ER in it for the IR for the OR for or the UR for okay? And they already have those letters in there, but I want you to do me a favor, and after you put each one in there, I want you to read them. I want you to read them as you're putting it in there. So what I'm going to do is for I'm reading this one, B, and AR says R, B, R, bar. So I'm going to cross out bar with my pencil, and I'm going to write it up here, bar. That way I know I already did that one, so I won't go back and do it again. Okay, so just whenever you do one, cross it out down here so that way you know you don't have to do it again. Okay, and if you need help, again, please send me a video, send me a message, anything you need, and I will get right back to you. Now we are on math. This math problem is, it says there are 14 ants and 6 more ants join them. And how many ants are there? Okay, so if you have 14 ants, let's think about our beginning, middle, and end, okay? If we have think about our beginning, of middle, and end. If we have 14 ants and then some more joined them in the middle, We want to know how many there are. This is different from this problem because this problem we were doing subtraction. This time it says that they joined them. So think about how your number sentence would be different. And then think about what strategy you're going to use to solve. The number sentence with the question mark answered. And then you're just going to double check your work and put the answer in a complete sentence. Remember, the question says, how many ants are there? So your answer should say something like, there are so many ants, okay? You're answering the question. You don't have to copy down the whole question, the whole problem again. You're just answering that one question, and the question is at the very end. It says, how many ants are there? So your sentence stem would be, there are blank ants. Where I put the blank is where you would put your answer, okay? Our next question says 17 frogs are on a log and 12 jump off. So how many frogs are on the log now? Okay, so that is a little bit different from the first one because we know that we have 17 frogs on a log, and then if some of them jump off, are they being separated or are we adding more frogs on the log? So think about that. Think about whether that's addition or subtraction, and then go ahead and follow those same steps. Remember, I took pictures of all of these posters so you can see them up close, and I put them on Dojo to remind you what the steps are. Okay, afterwards, you get to make shapes, okay? So I want you to make shapes. It says a triangle, a rhombus, and this is actually an you don't have to worry about doing this one because we haven't learned this shape yet. It's the four-sided polygon, but it's not a square or a rhombus. So just do this triangle or a rhombus, and what are 3 different ways you can make them? Okay, let's remember what our attributes of a shape were. So we know that a triangle has 3 sides and 3 vertices, okay? 3 sides and 3 vertices. It can look however you want it to look, as big or as small. The sides can be long or short or a combination of them, but as long as it has 3 sides and 3 vertices. A rhombus has 4 sides and 4 vertices, but all of the sides have to be an equal length. But see, these were kind of slanted. And that's okay. What's another way you can do a rhombus? Okay, just do your best, the best you can on there. And then here you're going to be doing some work with 10s and 1s and using a 120s chart. Let me know if you have any questions when you come to that. This is all stuff that we've gone over before. Okay, so now we'll do social studies. Okay, social studies. So for social studies, I want you to read that American Symbols book in the back again. It's in the back of your packet, just like you did Monday and Tuesday. And then it says, why are symbols important for a country? You can just make 1 or 2 sentences telling me why symbols are important for a country. Okay? And then for science, you're just going to read the living and non-living thing story in the back again, and you're going to say, my favorite non-living thing is, and do me a favor and write that sentence, okay? My favorite non-living thing is, and then tell me what your favorite non-living thing is, okay? For me, my favorite non-living thing is all of you, all of the kids, my own kids, all of you. It said favorite non-living thing, not favorite living thing. What was I thinking? Oh, I was thinking living thing, but I was reading non-living thing, so never mind. I can't even think of what my favorite non-living thing is right now. Right now it's probably food because I'm hungry. Anyway, think about what your favorite non-living thing is. My favorite living thing is you, not non-living. Okay. All right, so that does it for Wednesday's lessons, Wednesday, March 25th. And I will see you all soon. Bye.